Hi, and welcome to another PIE Crowdcast. I'm Rick Turoczy, co-founder and general manager of PIE. I'll be your host. Our guest today is Juan Barraza from the Portland State University Center for Entrepreneurship and easily the hardest working man in startups. Today we'll hear from Juan about his journey as a founder and how it led him to the position he's in today. We'll hear about a ton of great events that he's organizing for both students as well as other Latinx entrepreneurs. And finally, we'll hear from Juan about ways that we can be most helpful for the Latinx community in Oregon. Stay tuned. We'll get into the Q&A right now. Just to get things started and give some folks some context, why don't you give us your background, your journey as a lot of folks might not know you were a founder as well, and then how you kind of wound up in your current role.
Absolutely. Well, I'm born and raised in Mexico City. Have family here in the Northwest. 26 plus years ago, they invited me over for a vacation. That was in the summer, and they took me to the mountains, river, ocean, and I fell in love with the place. Moved that fall in September. I started getting situated, and they forgot to tell me about the rain. When I asked the family, my family here, when it's going to stop, they just smile and tell me wait until June. And so ever since Oregon has been home, I have different roles and different jobs through the last couple of years, from telecom through a detour into fast food, which that was very formative years for me. And around 2012, midlife crisis, decided to try something new. I have a friend that was a medical interpreter in one of the local hospitals. And I asked her, hey, how one can become an interpreter? My goal at that point is, to do a job, don't have to bring paperwork, a spreadsheet or anything, and something that will get back to the community. Fast forward a couple of years after doing that, during the H1N1 flu season that we had, I was working one of the trauma centers, and I got called in to help a young parent to get diagnosed. And before I knew it, I was rushing with him to the cardiac unit to have him place a stent. And the nurses and doctors told me that if I could not come that evening to do interpretation, probably he could go home without any diagnosis or just something to make him feel better until he sees his primary care doctor. But he wasn't going to be able to make it if that could have been the scenario. So that's when I started realizing that for people with limited English proficiency, there need to be a better way to get access to an interpreter, a professional trained medical interpreter. And that's how video got started. I started poking around with existing technology that was available then, very expensive, Polycom, Cisco, great units, but the hardware that was super expensive. I stumbled into what all of us use a lot now with Zoom. I was one of the first early adopters of Zoom, for the API, and got some pilots with Providence in Gleason, in the Gleason building. But we were early. We ran out of capital. Healthcare, nobody told me that creating a venture startup was hard, and raising capital was super hard. Doing in healthcare, that was extra hard. And 2016, about the end of 2015, we decided to fold on video and call it quits. I was already at the PSBA. Met Angela Jackson from the Business Accelerator. She was the executive director then, and when she found out that I was having some extra time, she asked me if I wanted to help her out with a project that they were running at PSU, which that was the Cleantech Challenge. For me, allowed me to do three things. One is stay in contact with the startup ecosystem, work with the students, and help guide them to the nuances of raising capital, creating a venture, building a team based on what I know, or the little that I know. We provided the much necessary reprieve and resting place to be able to recover from the beating we took the previous years. And I never expected being my next act into academia, and that has evolved into a Cleantech Challenge, Inventor, which are prototyping competition across the state, and it's been very rewarding. So um, during that time, also I noticed that there was a lot of activity in the startup ecosystem, the startup weekends, startup week, a startup PDX challenge, but I didn't see that many Latinos participating. And I know my people are there. I mean, I know they're building businesses, patenting ideas. So spearheaded the first Startup Weekend Latino in Spanish. I think it's first or second one in the nation. And a few years later, talked to Steven, saw what he was doing with Pitch Black, and he was very humble and kind to share the recipe, and we launched Pitch Latino. So other than that, raising a family, have 4 amazing kids at home, and staying busy.
You are without a doubt the hardest working man in startups. Where do you find all the energy and inspiration to do all this work? I mean, not only do you have all those projects you described, but Latino founders, you're creating personal protection equipment programs with 3D printing like, where does all that energy come from, Juan?
I've been very blessed and during my life. For some reason, I have a lot of people that has helped me to get to where I am right now, and I feel like it's part of giving back to the community, and something that inspired me from the startup ecosystem when I was started and poking around and knocking on doors is that everybody around in Portland has been willing to sit down with me and have a cup of coffee and help out. So I think that it's a way to pay it forward. Talking to you, Mitch, Steven, and a lot of other people is just brings the good in people. So we're better when we help each other.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Cheers. Oh, and yes, of course, Reverend Nat's sponsors the PIE Crowdcast every time. Thank you, Nat and company, for keeping our guests well hydrated while we're having these discussions. So you are more in tune with this kind of next generation, the students who are working on projects. What effect has this situation had in terms of momentum for those folks? Are they still pushing forward on their projects? Are they kind of searching to figure out what to do next? What are you seeing in your student community of entrepreneurs?
The students on all the community college and university across the state, they're already there. They have the innovation, entrepreneurial mindset already built on them, and then try to figure out how to make things work with very little. Right now, through the working from home, I'm unable to have access to the university settings, labs, or maker spaces. I just talked to a group of students from scholar architecture. They continue iterating and figure out how to create eco screens out of the single-use plastic. They have prototypes, and they're gluing, sewing, everything that needs to be done. Have other students that creating a plasma machine to be able to create basalt fiber, and they come up with a new way to do it without the gases and equipment that they have at the school. So the students are already there. They're very intuitive and very resourceful in building things, even without the necessary materials. So they are eager to go back to campus, but in the meantime, they know there's the stuff that can be done, and they just want to wait like everybody else until this is over to be able to continue prototyping and get in front of the tools that they need.
What about in the Latinx community? What are you seeing there in terms of impact or momentum in that community?
It is huge. Definitely, especially here in Oregon. When you go, depends where you go across the country. But in Oregon, it's first generation, second generation businesses that we have a lot of service industry driven businesses or construction businesses that have been impacted. For them having to pivot and get acquainted to the tools that taking gift cards, online ordering, social media. Many of these folks are just focused on doing what they do best on a daily basis. Now they have to acquire overnight a set of skills, right? You see people like BRIEs, for example, Jennifer Bolaños. She quickly pivoted to start doing gift cards for BRIEs from our coffee house. They have been able to take online orders, but it's not on their it's not one of the skill sets that they were used to using and then learning right now. So for them, is getting access to the information they needed to figure out how to get access to the federal and state resources. They were coming down the pipeline and asking the question: now, do I continue to be in business, or how much longer can I carry this on? As we already know, the PPP marginalized or uncover more that Latino or people of color didn't get as many resources we expected compared with other parts of the nation. So that's a big blow, right? You have people that were hoping to make it, get a loan to be able to make it to until we open again, and many of them are considering closing. So it's going to be devastating for the community, and if we project 30% of businesses being out of business at the end of this, probably it's going to be greater in the Latino community.
Yep. And maybe this is a good time to start jumping into some of the questions people have submitted, because this, comparing to right now, what people are going through, what was the climate like for Latinx businesses in the state prior to this COVID pandemic? How are you feeling about that momentum at the time?
We were seeing people like Leo Ochoa, Sylvia Salazar, Naya Seguin, and the folks from our family side house, that they were creating business that are scalable. And I was frankly optimistic that we were getting the momentum where more Latino business owners, Latinx business owners, were able to create scalable businesses beyond where industries that we're associated with. So seeing folks coming out of the woodwork with patents and the manufacturing products that could be manufactured in Oregon, that was amazing. And after this happened, we had to pump the brakes, and everybody's assessing: do we move forward, or how do we shifting the manufacturing from overseas to something that's local, and what is the cost of that?
Yep. Thank you. You touched on it a little bit, but you've got Invent Oregon coming up. If we're in this situation, how are you envisioning that event occurring this year?
We still hard work. We coordinate with all the 19 schools that participate in the program. Each school is hosting their competitions online, and you will see coming the announcements of when is the next ones. We shift oral educational materials that we give to the students on the summer to be online. We are still planning to host our competitions in Medford, and then mid-September at Rock Community College. And of course, it's all pending that the opening guidance from the state allows to do that. In the meantime, we have moved from Plan A, B, and C, and now we're in Plan D. Yeah, at the end of the day, Invent Oregon is a celebration of college inventors and innovators across the state, and it's the Friday Night Lights Invention Competition. If we have to resort to doing online, it will be a big celebration that we will invite the whole state to join us and cheer for the students that they create ideas and solutions that will benefit communities and people beyond Oregon and the United States.
Is this perhaps even a positive for that event in that it might get more exposure statewide than it has in the past?
I think so. It's an opportunity to showcase what we are able to do in the state as a whole. And that's one of the things I like about Oregon. All the schools are very competitive. They are competing from students and enrollment and tuition. But when it comes down to collaborating and creating a pathway from students to move from community college to a four-year university, or being able to get their access to the resources that will help them in the next stage in their career lives, it is exciting. So, and a minimum, the silver lining will be is the showcasing of the up and coming inventors and entrepreneurs that we'll see coming in the next couple of years.
Yep. Well, I'm really excited to see what's produced. Every year I'm blown away by the concepts that the students come up with and how not only well formulated the products are, but how the understanding of the potential business opportunity is fleshed out as well. It's an amazing competition. And it only works because of the community and ecosystem you've built, which makes this an appropriate next question. You are one of my community building heroes, Juan. Which community and ecosystem builders do you admire? Who can we learn from a perspective of community and ecosystem building?
I think definitely Portland for me is one of the foremost samples that we can follow. When I say Portland, it is the collaboration we have created, Bill, PIE Oregon, the Startup Weekend is a catalyzer of Startup Week that we all come in and help each other. But looking back, I look back to my roots in Mexico, right? In Mexico City, talking to my friends, they're still there, building startups. It is a sense of family and building the family environment. That once somebody is building a company, a startup, they're part of the crew. I'm going to figure out how to help them. And sometimes things will work out, and that's fine. But when they don't work out, how can we get in a soft landing for them to lick their wounds and heal and go back on their feet?
Well, and you've also been an example and done some of this work at a national level with the Kauffman Foundation and working with Lemelson and that kind of thing. Do you want to talk a little bit about that experience as well?
Yeah, so the Lemelson Foundation, I think we look at Kauffman, and Kauffman, they've done a great work, right? I mean, Kauffman has done a lot of great work to priming and propping the startup mindset. What we don't know is here locally we have the Lemelson Foundation, and they're investing heavy in the pipeline of featuring inventors and entrepreneurs. They're investing in early education from elementary school to K-12 to higher education. And their idea is, can we promote the next generation of inventors and entrepreneurs by showing them the nuances of how to file for a patent, how to build a team, how to raise capital. They are doing it in a way that their cornerstone is the institutions that provide education, but tying also with the players in the ecosystem and stepping away and let them do their best work possible. And that has opened up an opportunity to present different levels at the national level of the work that we do here in Oregon. And what Lemelson has done well is tapping into that collaboration spirit that we have here in Oregon that has combined philanthropic institutions with the state institutions and higher ed. So being able to bring on board Business Oregon, Oregon Community Foundation, Oregon Lottery, all the universities, and work together. I get asked every time that we are on the national level, how did that happen when in the East Coast people are still very competitive and they don't share their framework with anybody else, unless it's for a fee, right?
Awesome. Next question. As you've traveled around and helped students from all reaches of Oregon, what has surprised you most when it comes to Inventor?
Community colleges across the students from across the state. They're very inventive. They are doing amazing things, and rural Oregon is primed to bring the next generation entrepreneurs with very meaningful and tangible inventions in the state. Oregon Tech had a team that created a micro malter machine, and you're thinking, well, what is great about making malt? Well, the thing is great is that reduce the form factor for something that requires 1,000 square feet to a machine that it takes about 20 by 30 feet of space. And when a farmer in Eastern Oregon or Southern Oregon tries to sell the barley crop for 10 cents on the pound, and they're able to create their own boutique malt, and they sell it for 30 cents on the pound, they just triple the income of the family or the farm. So that's it's a solution very tangible for the community that it could create great impact. The other one is, for example, for Rock Community College, Blake Turner, before he came to PSU, he developed a hydrogen power retrofit kit for gas power engines to run with hydrogen. He just did it before even getting any engineering class. So that's the kind of talent that's coming out of rural Oregon. And so we should put attention in rural Oregon and what is happening in the schools there. There's something. It is, I don't know if the no easy access to resources or just being resourceful, knowing that in order for them to get access to a mentor or a maker space, they have to drive long distance or have to wait online for the opportunity to go to get access to the lab at the school. So they are maximizing what is available for them.
So if I could dig into that a little bit deeper, I think in a lot of activities statewide, you often hear about the urban-rural divide where, you know, there's the Portland metropolitan area and then there's the rest of Oregon. Are you seeing less friction between rural and urban, or is there still some of that dividing factor in the work you're doing?
It's still tangible, right? I think when people want to collaborate, people want to do the best they can. And when we come to the table and collaborate, we have to remember that when we come over from a solution from the metro area and we present our framework anywhere in rural, be open-minded that they're going to take it apart and they're going to utilize what is theirs. And unless they're allowed to make it their own, it will not work. And we have to be respectful of that. Something that works in the metro area might not work in Medford or in La Grande or in Coos Bay.
Yep.
And vice versa. And when they propose solutions, we just have to be aware of that. What is a pain point for us, it might not be in rural Oregon, and be able to respect that. And the divide is there, and is the spirit of collaboration and great efforts to make those bridges work, but is one coffee at a time, one conversation at a time, and it's a labor all out.
Well, and I think this program has done tons to really start to bridge that gap. So congrats to you on all of that work. Another question. We have headquarters in the US and in Latin America. How would you manage that scenario with investors in the US?
You have to be open about the operations. They need to be used to dealing with a corporation that has a foothold in Latin America and the US. Be transparent about the nuances of what are the possible scenarios and laws and friction points that could happen. I would say Mexico, Latin America, right, is different. And set up expectations and try to de-risk the investment for them and be very clear about how things happen. I remember Nora Cadena from one of the investors in LA. She invested in a company in Mexico, and she went to see the manufacturing operations. And what is very normal for us in Latin America, that we set up shop in our garage and we can make a mini operation for fabrication there that might not fly well in the US. And she still invested, but that was a little bit of a shock. She was expecting to see a commercial building and lease and everything. So be upfront for that and look at other corporations that have models that work. And I think Uno Square here in Portland has operations here in the US, and the majority of their employees are in Mexico and Guadalajara. That's a software play. So it would be good to ask them and meet with them and figure out how it's working out for them.
Cool. Thank you. Back to the students and younger innovators. Oops, sorry, the votes are making stuff jump around. What underlying traits do you often see with the young innovators, this next generation of potential founders?
Self-taught, very curious.
Mm-hmm.
They are not waiting for permission to get things done. And it's no better time to be in a school right now, where I remember back in my days of school, where I needed to do screen printing for my printed circuit boards and do the acid bath. Now you have equipment at the school, at the university that does that for you for rapid prototyping. Software like AutoCAD, Fusion 360 is free licensing for students. Adobe Creative Cloud, that used to cost thousands of dollars. Now you can do a lot online, and all the open source platforms for building web applications, Internet of Things, everything is affordable, easy access. So I think that it's a great opportunity advantage for students, and they are digesting that like a rapid pace. They're able to learn new skill sets faster than we're used to. Well, at least my generation was used to.
Yep. That's awesome. What cultural forces are the biggest passion points for young Latinx entrepreneurs and students? What do you see driving them?
They're aware that their opportunities was afforded for them, for their parents, for the sacrifices of the elders, and they want to do right by them. But also they recognize that they have a responsibility to express their voice and opinion and provide a voice for a community that in the past was very gun-shy about taking a platform. And regardless if you are a DACA student or your first generation, second generation, they are stepping up and saying this is not right, and I will not stand by it, and I want to be able to get my fair share like everybody else. So in other words, they're not waiting to get invited to the table. They're building their own table and making themselves know that they're here to stay and make an impact.
Well, and that sparks a question for me. I know that this year it got derailed, but you were organizing a gathering of Latinx investors. So what are you seeing from that side of the table in the Latinx world?
Just like we talked in the past, right? We have talked in the past that investors need to understand when you approach investors, needs to be somebody that understands the industry and need to understand where you're coming from. Same thing happened with the Latinx investors. In order for us to be able to get traction with angel investment capital, is being able to get in front of investors to understand the cultures and nuances or why we do things the way we do it, right? We have people that have done a play for digital health app for women, Latinx women, in Spanish and English, and they asked for the last minute was why you don't focus on the larger population women across the U.S. And because the lack of cultural understanding is that why we need to be able to start building the pipeline of angel investors so people understand the community. And we have people like Alex from First Capital, Maria Salamanca from Chaco VC. We have Nora May Cadena and many more they're stepping into that role, and it's just a matter of time until you see a more relevant presence on the angel investment capital with Latinx investors. And all we need is the few of them to start getting access and successful. And what they're doing, they're investing on the community because it's proven they have better returns. They pay their investments a faster rate than their normal counterpart. So, like Stephen Green normally says, the most capitalist thing that they can do is invest in somebody that will be able to return you money at the rate of return you expect.
Thank you. Also wanted to mention that we talk a lot about Arrow Coffee here. Erica is in attendance and just popped up in the chat. So hi, Erica. Thanks for coming. How are lean startup innovation tools and students engaging and helping existing businesses and startups pivot to a new, more resilient normal? So are you seeing, maybe this would be a great place to kind of touch on the PPE project with Makerforce and that kind of stuff. How are students getting engaged there? How are they helping other businesses?
The students at the university right now, every year we have like a huge amount of capstone teams that are able to work with the startups. All you have to do is get it in the right timeline to be able to get access to those teams. If you are an early stage startup that needs access to somebody that helps you with engineering, with marketing, with business modeling, doing some research, even some brand development, right now is the time to reach out. Feel free to contact me. You get access to, for the undergraduate level, you get about 8 to 10 students that will be able to help you figure out that access, that problem that you're trying to solve for your company. Your problem is financials, and you try to figure out how you do projections for payroll and manufacturing, or you can get a nice capstone team working with you for 2 months to be able to get our results. If it's marketing or brand development, you can do that. At the university, my team, the Center for Entrepreneurship, we have benefit to working with PSU students. And all the graphics and design that we have done in the last couple of years is because one of our students from the School of Design, very talented from Malaysia, has been able to utilize his skills to make us look really, really good. It is available. In many years, every year, people have asked us how PSU can help or how we can get access to students. Capstone student teams is a great way for you to connect with the university, provide a so necessary skill for them to working ground for them to gain experience, and in return you get to resolve some of the answers that you need for your business, regardless of what it is.
Yep. Yeah, I've been on the kind of observing end of the capstone projects, and the thing I love about it is not only does it get you out of that typical kind of student intern management loop, but you get a team as well as faculty who's helping guide that team. So it's a really robust service offering that is super valuable to early stage startups.
And it is something that is available, and it's just having to ask and invest the time. If you invest the time for a couple of weeks with students, just like with any employee, you will get great results.
Next question from Joe Brickman. What do your experiences with Invent Oregon and the Cleantech Challenge tell you about the prospects for diversity in the Cleantech innovation pipeline?
You have to be intentional. Mm-hmm. When you at the school level with young inventors, are probably true with outside the university, you're gonna get the usual players, right? And there's no fault of their own. They have access to resources. They know where to get information, and they know how to apply. The individuals, they don't think that they can be inventors, or they can apply for a competition like a Cleantech or Inventor, or have an invention. You have to go look for them, right? And it's a lot of coffee and it's a lot of hard work. If all we do is just put an application and wait for people to apply and say, hey, these are the results that we have, and nobody else apply, I mean, that's what you are going for. That's fine, but you have to be intentional, and that means that you have to get out of the office, go where the people are, buy a lot of coffee, buy donuts, and meet people and tell them that you can do this. It's something very powerful to be said to a student that is undergraduate level or a graduate level, with somebody with a little bit more seniority, uh, tapping them on the shoulder and ask them, hey, Rick, Juan, Steven, I think you can do this. You have the skills to get it done. And walk them through the process. And we rely a lot on mentors in the community. But the first key is be intentional. The only way we're going to be able to solve the diversity problem is going for people where they are. You have to get to know them. Oftentimes, I get calls from people, hey, can you introduce me to 3 Black or 3 Latinx founders, 3 women that are in engineering? And I said, sure, I can do that, but you can do that also yourself by going to the engineering building. And the university, you're going to see the roaming, right? PSU is working with a program called Build Éxito, and it's just designed to create the next generation of diverse scientists and engineers in our community. So the answer is lots of coffee, be intentional, go look for them if they are not there. And when you see your results for the application, if you have people that are missing, go look for them until you get people.
That's a great answer. Thank you. So even before community college or undergrad, are there any programs that connect middle school or high school students with mentors, resources, programs to leverage this before they get into college? Do you have any experience with any programs like that?
Oregon Mesa.
Okay.
Oregon Mesa has been around for the last 35 years. It's a school program for middle school and high school where they go to the school after hours and they work with teaching engineering problems to students. They are great. You have an opportunity to take a look at it. The Mesa Week is happening this week, and they rely on mentors, but also in engineering students to be able to work with high schoolers and middle schoolers. They're a great program. Invention Bootcamp, it is happening right now in the summer at PSU. So some of the programs that come on top of mind. And outside Oregon, Portland metro area, you can have Pitch Robotics. Pitch Robotics is also a great program that if you can take a look at it, but it's a way to get the up and coming K-12 inspired.
And then I've heard, just to add on one more, through TIE, the TYE program that Shashi's put together that provides that mentorship at a high school level as well.
That's right. Anything to do with Sashi is great. So if Sashi is involved, it's good.
Agree. I got to get Shashi on here. Okay, next question. How does PSU handle intellectual property issues with the capstone project teams? Are there NDAs or contracts, or how is that handled?
Definitely NDAs. If you come in with an idea and you want to disclose some intellectual property, just be forthcoming with the faculty that's leading the capstone program, and we can sign NDAs. When I did video NDA with students, that was no problem. Everybody signed that, and it was easy. But you have to be willing to go through a process. And just remember, the university, it takes time to get things processed, so be ready for that. So entrepreneurs sometimes would like to get things done tomorrow in a couple hours. If they have to go through the different approval processes, so to make sure that NDA is square and benefits you and doesn't minimize liability for the university. So the NDAs can be signed.
Okay, great. Thank you. Um, we had kind of already touched on this, but just to put it specifically, is the Cleantech Challenge still running?
We are. We still doing the Cleantech Challenge. We were scheduled to be at Tech Fest Northwest, because everything that's happening has been postponed. So we're moving forward with a virtual Cleantech Challenge. May 29, we'll be hosting it, where students will be able to showcase their competitions virtually. We will put the link online and the chat for people to attend and help us select the winners. We have 7 amazing students that they're developing the next technology for ultraviolet lighting to sanitize the sole of your shoes. Very relevant right now. Basal fiber to replace fiberglass. New ways to grow crops. New manufacturing structures that are eco-friendly. So it is happening. The students have done a lot without access to their traditional equipment. So we're very excited for them.
Awesome. Thank you. What is your opinion about the environment to find angel investors during this pandemic?
If you need capital, I mean, if that's your play, that you are at the stage that you are going to raise capital, is be ready to have a lot of conversations. It's a full-time job. If you are a team of one, and you have to build product and manufacture, and you have to decide, do I go raise capital or continue splitting my time between building product, or just focus my efforts on product. 5% of the businesses, the startups, they're looking for capital, get funded. It does you play. Just be very patient. Be ready to talk to the individuals that will play in your industry. We all have done the mistake that just because somebody says an angel investor, you invest time and effort in presenting to them, pitching your idea, and they're not cutting checks, or maybe their fund is depleted and they're just taking the meeting because that's their job. That's a job to create a look for pipeline. They're not able to call checks, or they are not somebody that will invest in your industry. And many of the angel investors will invest in a specific sector. It's technology, software, it's manufacturing, could be clean tech. So just make sure they're aligned with that. And if that's what you're gonna go for, be ready. It's gonna be a long way. We're about 18 months to 3 years to things to go back to our new normal, whatever that is. So
cool. Thank you. This one, do you accept volunteers that are not in the capstone program? So maybe just asking that a bit of a different way. If I want to get involved in Portland State Center for Entrepreneurship or some of the other work you're doing there, how do we get involved?
Call me, email me. We're always looking for mentors. It's a great deal of students that they're always looking for somebody that will work with them. You have experience in business development, prototyping, design, manufacturing, science. Just let me know what is your expertise. And we always looking for about 30 to 40 mentors that will work with the student teams and being able to coach and mentor. And just keep in mind, when you're mentoring students, it's totally different than mentoring a founder. Students, you try to guide them to find the answer and in a way keep the training wheels on, because they're still learning. So you have to be gentle. We have had mentors that, bless their heart, they mean well, but they go for the knees. They go for the knees. They're brutal. They're honest. They're apologetic, and that's great. But in the process, you crush somebody's dreams and hopes and aspirations, and that's not intent. Your goal as a mentor is always looking for somebody that's willing to nurture. It takes a lot of patience not to give them the answer. even though you know what is their end result. They need to discover themselves because they're still learning.
Great. Thank you. How can I support members of the Latinx entrepreneur community?
Many ways. Right now, try to go to around your neighborhood. You're always going to have a Latinx business that you can be their new client. Go get coffee, order pastries, some of the services they provide. Make an effort to buy local. Figure out what are all your daily needs or weekly needs in your household, how you can replace that for a local business. And you happen to be a Latinx mentor business, that's amazing. You have amazing food in the Portland Mercado. People in the Portland Mercado, Erica and in North Portland with Arrow Coffee House. I know she's keeping us caffeinated left and right. BRIE's online orders, which, by the way, they just had a new member of the family during all this craziness. So they're taking online orders while their new baby is getting acquainted to this new world. Tamale Boy, yeah, thank you, Steven. Tamale Boy, and so that's and many more. We can keep going into this amazing business that it give you the authentic flavor and flair of the Latinx food. Other businesses, you have people like Leo Ochoa. They are not on in the food or coffee business, but they're manufacturing the next generation of support systems. See the Kickstarter campaigns. I don't know exactly the GoFundMe. You have experience in dealing with manufacturing and supply chain. I'm sure that Leo will welcome that. So La Familia Cider House down in Salem, they have an amazing cider. Similar
There's room for more than one cider.
It is room for one more cider. So look for the local businesses. You are in the metro area, Beaverton, Hillsboro. You will have great businesses that you are able to support. The ones that you don't have a direct to consumer product, just amplify their message. Tell a story. You know somebody that you find out is a great founder, great with the community. Share their story, Twitter, Facebook, or point it out to us, and that will amplify their message.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Yeah, good example of that is Sylvia Salazar, who does Tono Latino. So really breaks down like political issues like gerrymandering into something that anybody can understand, and so amplifying those kind of messages too can be super helpful. What do you wish you saw more from the Latinx community in Portland? How can we be better for each other? That question's from Erica at Arrow.
Collaboration. That's like a Rosetta Stone for a community. We have great organizations doing for many years the hard work of technical assistance. We have the Spanish Chamber of Commerce, Adelante Mujeres, Centro Cultural, Latino Network, and many more. And in a way, they serve the community. We have the Portland Mercado, creating a new support system for entrepreneurs. But one thing that we need to be able to do is share resources and collaborate. At the end of the day, we only have one skill set that we're very strong, and recognize that and be able to lean in the other organizations to be able to support and hand off entrepreneurs. If somebody has outgrown the services that they provide, make sure to hand it over to the next individual organization that will be able to support it. In the founder side, just get out of your comfort zone. I know that we are in the day-to-day activities. Make room for get to know what is happening around you. The only way that I was able to interact with the Startup Weekend Challenge, Startup Weekend Latino, and everything else is because I got out of my bubble. And it is amazing people that you can learn things from them or things that you can teach them. And being able to ask questions there's no need to ask for permission. Can I do this? And invest in yourself. And if you have a question, any problem, sometimes I talk to Silvia, talk to Leo, Edgar Nava on a weekly basis. And sometimes it's related to the business, sometimes it's not. It's just a support system. And nothing will understand better what it's like to get in the call from mom telling you, hey, are you busy? And I say, no. Well, it seems like you are way busy because you haven't called me, right? And it's typical mom, right? My mom is 5'2", and she still put me to the ringer, right? So being able to understand those nuances of cultural aspects, and we have great friends. I have great friends all over, but when I'm able to talk to people to understand why we do things, and from the Mexican side, why we do things and nuances, this is amazing. Or like Steven, when he talks about tostones, right? I mean, he's Puerto Rican side. He's Puerto Rican side. When I talk to Mars about all the things that he is able to say, you know what, you get me, and we need to talk more. And doesn't matter if we don't need to have a solution right now. It's just being able to know that we're there. That makes a big difference. For many years, I thought that I was one of the few professionals or Latino business owners in Portland, and I come to realize that it's a wealth of individuals that are there. It's just they're not coming and playing. So let's get together and support each other.
That's great. So that's a perfect segue into kind of turning the tables here. You have been and continue to be an incredible asset for our community and someone who's always willing to help anyone else. What can we as a community be doing to help you, Juan, right now?
Thank you. Great question. First, we have two big events coming up. Cleantech Challenge is May 29. Just come and sign up. I just put the link on the chat, and come cheer up the students. From now until September, we're gonna be showcasing the winners of each of the competitions from the students that are popping up from across the state from Inventor. September 19, mark your calendars for a Friday Night Lights invention competition for Oregon. Come and celebrate. If we're doing in Medford, we'd love to see you in Medford. If we have to do a visual competition, we'll love to see you on the interwebs. Continue supporting Latinx businesses. And just remember that while we have the fortune to be working from home or getting our groceries and everything, it is a lot of Latinx individuals bagging the groceries, harvesting, preparing the meals that you are consuming. And just remember that we stand in the shoulder of giants, and those individuals right now, they don't have a voice. Just amplify their voice and let them know that you appreciate them. One of my mentors told me that one of the biggest things that you can do for an individual is look in the eye, smile at them, and say thank you for what you do. That means a lot, and it doesn't take a lot of hard work. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Juan, thank you. Always a pleasure to get the chance to spend time with you. We really appreciate you answering all of these questions and providing that feedback for folks. It's been great chatting with you. Thanks, everybody.